This is Richard Wolff speaking to Chris Smalls. This is the last clip, and I'm gonna go backwards, so I'm starting from the back.
Are you getting any help from the politicians? Are you? If you are, is it sufficient? What's the relationship between this effort, which affects so many people, and the political parties that run this country?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it's not enough support that we have. As of recently, we started to have a couple politicians show up to our rallies and events. That was pretty much after we already filed for our petition. And as far as the public support, we don't have as much as we should. This should be one of the most talked about campaigns in the entire country right now. But unfortunately, we're not. And that doesn't it doesn't add up when you're talking about politicians that's on the left that stand in the labor movement, that stand up for workers' rights. There's a lot of progressives that claim that they stand on the solidarity with these workers, but I haven't yet had their support yet publicly to the point where Amazon workers can realize that they do have this type of support. So they need to step up. That's guaranteed that they need to step up and also help out and support in any way they could with their platforms.
So no one helped. And he's been on, I mean, shout out to Chris Smalls. He's been on a tour. I've seen at least clips where he's been at least on 6 or 7 different shows. Recently I saw in the last day. But he's saying none of them helped. No one. So no one can be claiming help or victory with this. Zero. The squad, the people who are for unions, the Democratic Party, zero. Nothing. And you don't have to shout them out to claim credit. You can shout them out like AOC don't have to claim credit. You can say, hey, sorry I wasn't there, but glad you still was able to do it. I'll be at the next one. Say that, AOC. All right, let's go to 21-20. Oh, that's so weird. One was 27-21 and the other one is 21-27. All right. Let's go 21-27 here. Let's go back a little bit further. Next clip here where they kind of talk about Great Resignation.
And other activists, we're putting pressure on lawmakers to pass things like the PRO Act, which will protect workers to organize their workplace. And if they can't do that, we have to apply pressure on the NLRB, which is the National Labor Relations Board.
Let me ask your opinion on something. There's been a lot of attention over the last 4 or 5 months on the remarkable statistics about people quitting, walking away from a job because it's not bearable or it's not tolerable anymore to stay with it. But I remember thinking to myself, I understand the frustration and the anger and all of that. But if you leave a job, you're going to have to get another one. And you're going to face more or less the same kind of conditions. So that is there a learning process going on where people quit and then realize that's not the solution, but organizing a union and changing the way the workplace is set up is a better solution? Is something like that going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Even myself, I wasn't a union organizer, and now look at me. I'm the current interim president of the Amazon Labor Union. I realized from working, being pretty much deemed an essential worker since I was, 16, 17 years old, my first job at Target. When you quit a job and you get another job, you're jumping from one fire into another fire. As you mentioned, more or less, it could be better or worse. And what I realized after Amazon, after pouring my blood, sweat, and tears into a company for nearly 5 years and then giving it my best shot to move up in the company and just for them to terminate me wrongfully, that pretty much woke me up to saying that something needs to be done. This can't just be happening to everybody and everybody just be okay with it. And I think now people are realizing, we can't just quit our jobs anymore because that means nothing gets changed, nothing gets done. The system continues to operate the way it's been operating. But if you unionize, you organize your workplace, things can change. And I think that's what workers are realizing now as well.
Is it going on all over the place? In other words, I don't want to be, I don't want wishes to take over my.
And now let's go to the part or the clip where he's talking about how Amazon, what they did to work hard to stop this union organization. Actually, is that the next one? Actually, no, it's not. Despite Amazon, unions are growing within Amazon. So 1715. All right, let's go to that one. Clip 1715. Here we go.
And yet, Chris, I understand this, but you know, as a person who looks at the media every day as part of my life, I do get the impression, and I'd like your judgment here, that despite this kind of effort on Amazon, it's spreading. That is, the desire to form unions at Amazon locations, and of course beyond that, but particularly in your case with Amazon, seems to be growing despite their efforts. Is that correct? Am I reading that right?
I believe so. I believe ever since the pandemic started, workers been deemed essential workers. And I think we're realizing our value is a lot greater since these companies in these different industries accumulated so much wealth throughout the course of the pandemic, especially Amazon. Jeff Bezos made over $88 billion off of our backs. And I think now workers are now realizing we're worth a lot more. We need to be paid a lot more and treated a lot better. And you've seen the uprising of unions with Starbucks. You've seen all the strikes that have been happening across the country. I think the labor movement has a microscope on it right now. And I'm hoping that this union drive in New York will also be a catalyst for a revolution where unions will start to be back on the uprising in this country. Ever since the 1930s, we're talking about unions diminishing to less than 10%.
I would love to see that. I mean, this is a first step to what we really want, which is to take over the means of production. But this is just the first step, not the final step, in my opinion. There is a final clip, 16. So let's go here.
Labor union, and we want to try our efforts here in Staten Island.
All right. Give me a sense. I mean, you already have answered this, but I need to ask you to expand a little bit. How hard is Amazon working to try to block or prevent or undermine what you're trying to do?
Yeah, for context, the campaign in Alabama, Invest from Alabama, they spent, it's been reported they spent $25 million last year to stop that union campaign. And they were successful. That campaign results came in the company's favor. And they're doing the same thing here in New York. We're trying to unionize 4 facilities. So they spent the same amount of money or more. We're estimating at least $50, $60 million they spent on stopping us in the last 11 months. They're flying these union busters in from all over the country, even all over the world, some even from the UK. They're paying them anywhere between $3,000 to $10,000 a day. They're holding captive audiences every single day, putting workers in classrooms, trying to pretty much create doubt on joining the union. And they've been doing this for the last 11 months since we started back in April of 2021.
And they still lost. That's a shift in understanding. Just like the vote in Alabama, the one that when they missed, they got slaughtered in the vote. This one, it's razor thin. The next one, they'll win if they don't win this one. So it's a shift in understanding. This is what I'm saying. This is part of the revolution. People who are propagandized, who are beaten down, who still are believing in the system, are not going to go run out and start marching. They first have to be deprogrammed and have real information replaced. Have real information replace the old propaganda. All of this needs to take place first. Radicalization, I guess you can call it. radicalizing people. That has to take place